Hello and welcome to the Industrial Commission of Arizona's webinar for the calculation of scheduled awards. My name is Robert Gallion and I'm the Ombudsman for the Industrial Commission. For the agenda today, we're going to learn how to issue a notice of claim status for permanent impairment, the permanent impairment statutes, how to calculate the value of a scheduled award, the Camus Decision, which is a case law, and what to submit with the scheduled permanent disability award, as well as how to calculate the permanent disability award, practice time and loss of teeth calculations, and facial award calculations. We're going to start with how to issue a notice of claim status for a permanent impairment. This is an example of the notice of claim status that should be issued when you get ready to close your claim and there is permanent scheduled impairment. You're going to check boxes 6 and box number 8, with the termination date being included on number 6. We're going to go over the difference between scheduled and unscheduled injuries now. Now, a scheduled injury statute is ARS 23-1044B. It's for a specific body part going to be issued on a commonly called the Form 106, the Notice of Permanent Disability or Death Benefits form. Only going to be awarded for a specific number of months or scheduled months, and the carrier issues this award. Now, on the other hand, for an unscheduled injury, that's going to be an injury that affects the whole person, a general impairment. This is going to include your back, your neck, or your head injuries. This is issued on the Form 107, otherwise known as the Notice of Permanent Disability and Request for Determination of Benefits. This is issued based on the loss of earning capacity, or LEC, and is potentially issued for a lifetime. This is also issued by the Industrial Commission and not the carrier. Now we're going to learn how to calculate the value of a scheduled award. Now, in order to properly calculate the value of a scheduled award, you must determine the amount of the monthly entitlement and determine the number of months of that entitlement. You're going to need the following information in order to do this. The average monthly wage must be established, and you'll need a medical report, which would include discharge from care, the body part and impairment rating, and the restrictions, if any, and it needs to also indicate whether the injured worker is able to return to his or her date of injury work. Now, how you determine the scheduled award is you're going to multiply the impairment rating times the number of months for the body part injured that is represented in the law book. In this example, the lower extremity is worth 50 months and the impairment rating is 20%. So you multiply 50 months times the 20% and you get 10 months of entitlement. Now, for finger and thumb amputations, bone loss from the tip of the finger up to and including the first knuckle is considered a 50% loss, even if it's only a little tip of the bone. Bone loss past the first knuckle is considered a 100% loss. And here is an example of that. Now, when calculating a scheduled award, you're going to use one of 3 possible average monthly wage percentages. It's going to be either 50%, 55%, or 75% of the average monthly wage. Your standard award, most of the awards you're going to be issued are going to be at the 50% rate. This is a partial loss if the injured worker is able to return to his date of injury occupation. And next up, we have 55% of the average monthly wage. This is only used for a loss of use, total loss, or amputation. And again, the injured worker is able to return to his or her date of injury occupation. And last, we have the 75% of the average monthly wage, and this is only used in those cases where the injured worker is unable to return to his or her date of injury occupation. Now, in this example, the injured worker sustained the following right major hand impairment. We have 100% loss by amputation to the little finger, 65% impairment to the ring finger, and 60% impairment to the middle finger. Now, because the little finger is an amputation, they're going to get 100% of the 4 months. That's going to bring the average monthly wage to $13.20 times the 4 months for a total award in this example of $5,280. For the ring finger, that's going to be worth 5 months in the law book. You're going to multiply that to get 3.25 months of entitlement. We're going to use the 50% of the average monthly wage in this case because there was no amputation, and that's going to equal an award of $3,900. And for the last finger, the middle finger, 7 months of entitlement at 60% is 4.2 months, which is equal to $5,040 total award. Now you're going to add these three fingers up because they were on the same hand. So the total award is going to be $14,220 for all three fingers. And this is where your case law or Camus decision comes into play. In accordance with the Camus decision of 1966, where the claimant is legally entitled to compensation under either of two scheduled disabilities, he is entitled to benefit of approach to his scheduled injury, which would provide him with a larger amount of compensation. What does this mean? Here's an example. In this medical report indicated that the total impairment of the fingers is equal to 29% impairment of the major hand, which is equal to 26% impairment of the major arm. Now we've already done the calculation for the fingers, and now we're going to do the calculation for the hand. The major hand in the law book is worth 50 months. Multiplied by the 29% impairment gives you 14.5 months of entitlement at 50% of the average monthly wage for a total award of $17,400. Moving on to the arm, we have a 26% impairment. The arm being worth 60 months in the law book gives us 15.6 months of entitlement at 50% of the average monthly wage for a total award of $18,720. Now, out of the three calculations we've just done, the major arm is worth the most, and therefore that is what should be used when issuing your Notice of Permanent Disability and Death Benefits, or Form 106. Now we're going to go over what to submit with the Scheduled Permanent Disability Award once it's issued. The packet, as it's called, that should be issued when issuing a Permanent Disability Award is as follows. You should have the average monthly wage established. If not, now would be the time for you to issue the wage notices so that the ICA can issue the average monthly wage. You also need to issue the Notice of Claim Status, marking boxes numbers 6 and 8 to close the claim and indicate there is permanent impairment. Remember when issuing the closing notice to be mindful of Rule 118. This is AAC-R20-5-118. Indicates that the date on number 6 cannot be more than 30 days back to the date the notice is being issued. You're going to issue the Notice of Permanent Disability or Death Benefits 106 form. This would include the calculations. You also should include, if indicated, the Notice of Supportive Medical Maintenance Benefits, also known as the Form 103, and of course the medical report that supports the termination, permanent impairment, and also if the injured worker was able to return to his or her date of injury occupation. Remember, when issuing the packet, it should be submitted to all interested parties, and best practice recommends that a copy also go to the doctor as well. Now we're going to move on to how to calculate a permanent impairment and practice time. Here is again the Form 104 indicating that this is a permanent impairment and it is being closed as such, which would include the termination date. And here's the Form 106, also known as the Notice of Permanent Disability or Death Benefits. There's going to be 3 boxes that must be filled out on this form. Number 1 is the statute under which compensation is payable. In this example, that would be 1044B, 15, and 21. Number 2 is the percentage and type of disability. And in this example, that would be 10% functional loss of the left leg. Number 3 is the calculation itself and the date that this payment is effective. In this example, we have 50 months is what the left leg is worth, multiplied by the 10% impairment, and it gives you 5 months of entitlement. Average monthly wage was established at $4,000, and we're going to be using 50% in this example. It gives us $2,000 a month multiplied by the 5 months for a total award of $10,000. And here's a breakdown of that calculation again. Now I'm going to ask on this slide that in a minute you go ahead and pause this so that you can calculate these three problems right here. Everything that you need to solve these is included on this slide. Number 1, 10% permanent impairment to the minor arm. Injured worker can return to work. Number 2, 50% permanent impairment by amputation of the fourth finger or little or pinky finger, and again, the injured worker can return to work. And number 3 is a 20% permanent impairment of the left leg, and the injured worker in this example cannot return to work. Please go ahead at this moment and pause this slide and give yourself time to do these three problems. All right, I hope that all of you got the answers correct as they are now on the screen. We're going to go over them together now. For number 1, the 10% permanent impairment of the minor arm, injured worker can return to his date of injury occupation. Average monthly wage on all three of these examples is going to be set at a nice even $4,000. So for the first example, we're going to utilize 50% of the average monthly wage because the injured worker was able to return to his date of injury occupation. That gives us a $2,000 monthly entitlement. 50 months is what the minor arm is worth. Multiplied by the 10% impairment gives us 5 months of entitlement. Multiplied equals a $10,000 award for number 1. Moving on to number 2, we have a 50% permanent impairment by amputation of the fourth or little finger. And again, the injured worker can return to work. Now in this example, we're going to use 55% of the average monthly wage because of the amputation. That gives us a $2,200 monthly entitlement. And 4 months is what the pinky is worth, or little finger in the law book, at 50% of the average monthly wage. That's 2 months of entitlement at $2,200 a month for a total award of $4,400. Now, for the last one, the 20% permanent impairment of the left leg, the injured worker could not return to work, at least not the date of injury work in this example. So we'll be utilizing the 75% rate of the average monthly wage, giving us a $3,000 monthly entitlement. The left leg is going to be worth 50 months in the law book, multiplied by the 20% gives us 10 months of entitlement for a total award of $30,000. Now moving on to loss of teeth. They are closed the same way as any other scheduled injury. You'll issue a notice of claim status, again checking boxes number 6 and number 8 with the termination date included on number 6. Now this is a Form 107, also known as the Notice of Permanent Disability and Request for Determination of Benefits. This is the form that you would issue in those cases of facial disfigurement or, in this example, loss of teeth. You're going to check box number 2 on this form and then circle or underline whichever one applies to your case, either facial disfigurement or loss of teeth. Now, the loss of teeth awards have a schedule, so you know exactly right off the bat what our award should read when we issue this, because this example is available not only on the website but also in the claim seminar manual as well. It goes from 1 tooth all the way to all 28 teeth. For this example, the injured worker appears to have lost 2 teeth, which would entitle him, based on the previous example, of 1.28 months. Loss of teeth and facial awards are always paid out at the 55% rate of the average monthly wage. In this example, that being $4,000 gives a $2,200 monthly entitlement, multiplied by the 1.28 months for a total award of $2,816. And we will issue an award finding applicant lost 2 teeth and is entitled to $2,200 for the 1.28 months for a total award of $2,816. Moving on to scheduled permanent impairment awards for facial injuries. Again, they are closed the same way as any permanent impairment claim. You'll issue a notice of claim status checking boxes number 6 and boxes number 8 with the termination date included on box number 6. You will again issue the notice of permanent disability and request for determination of benefits, also known as a Form 107, this time checking box number 2 as well and indicating facial disfigurement. This is the form that the Commission uses when the injured worker comes into our office. We use this sheet to mark our measurements and draw what we see on the injured worker. Medical facilities also have a copy of this for their records. This can be obtained if you would like via the portal on our website, as it is included in the Commission's file. Now for this example, the facial scar, the Commission is going to award this injured worker 2 months of entitlement at 55% of the average monthly wage for a total entitlement of $2,200 times the 2 months for a total award of $4,400. The ICA will issue an award finding that the applicant is entitled to 2 months for a facial disfigurement and is entitled to $2,200 for 2 months for a total of $4,400. And there is no little chart like there is for the loss of teeth. These are on a case-by-case basis at the ICA's discretion. And here is what the Commission's permanent impairment, scheduled permanent impairment award will look like. And this is for a facial or loss of teeth. And please note that this award does have a 90-day appeal period, which is exactly the same as the notice of permanent disability or death benefits that is issued by the insurance carrier. Thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at the main number, 602-542-4661, or on our website at www.azica.gov.